Hey, this is Paul from the Grappling Dads. Today, I want to talk about getting and keeping your kids involved in Jiu Jitsu. So, for me, it was a bit on the easy side. My kids saw me do it, they wanted to give it a try, so when I signed them up at an early age, 5 and 7, they took right to it and they loved it. Not everybody has that opportunity. Some of you might want to force your kids to do it, and I mean, on one hand, yeah, I get it. You want them to be safe. It's a very good sport. You might have a love for it. You might want your kid to have that same love, or your kids to have that same love, and I understand. Other people would say I don't force my kids to do anything, and I understand both points. What I want to get at is trying to develop a love of jiu-jitsu for them. And that can be the tricky part because you want them to want to go. You want them to want to do jiu-jitsu, not just be forced to not do it begrudgingly. That's not fun. So I recommend, if they're at a young age, getting the Gracie Bully-Proof DVD set. It's a bit expensive. It's, I don't know, $80 to $130, I forget, but I got it on sale. So if you can get a sale, awesome. If you can't, still worth the money, I'd say. And they teach you games that you can play with your children that make it seem more fun. And going beyond that, they show you how to encourage your kid and not keep correcting your kid. Because if you keep on telling a kid, you're doing it wrong, do it this way, they'll be like, oh, I'm disappointing my mom or my dad. But if you're saying, that's great, you're doing an excellent job, try this instead, or see if this works better, or just kind of like put their body parts where they're supposed to be and keep the fun going, I think that's a really good way to keep them involved. As far as forcing your kids to do it or not forcing your kids to do it, that's a bit of a touchy subject, right? So some people say, I don't force my kids to do it. And that's fine, I respect that. You know, everybody has their own parenting style. We've kind of landed on, because they already do it and they already love it, it's a little bit easy. But they do get burnt out every now and then and don't always want to go. So we always give them an option of, hey, if you're burnt out, we'll take a day off. They go twice a week, typically. But we might give them a day off or even a week off if they got something else going in school, or they're just burnt out, they don't want to do it. We don't force that. But we don't let them quit altogether either. They know it's part of their life. It's kind of like, I force my kids to brush their teeth. I force them to take a shower. I force them to do their schoolwork and make their beds and do their chores. So a little bit, I guess, for me as a dad, who knows how important it is, especially for little girls in this day and age, to learn this art, I do make them at least think that they can't quit. But also I haven't had to really push that boundary either. If you don't want to force your child, some things you can do is teach them at home. Like I said, with the Gracie Bully-Proof DVDs, you can go over that stuff, or roll with them, have fun. Bribery always works, right? If you can make it a fun game and say, hey, if you can tap that out, you get $1. Like, that might be a fun way to do it. Or, I'll take away this chore or that chore if you roll with me. And just get them to like it. Now, I know that's kind of kid and age dependent, and I don't have the answers for everybody at all situations. But I think for the most part, whatever the age of the child is, they have to enjoy it and think it's fun. If you shove something down their throat, you know, force-fed food isn't easily digestible, right? So always try to silver line it, coat it. You know, it's just a better way to do things overall for the longevity of their jiu-jitsu. As far as schools go, if they're having fun in their school, that one's a little bit tricky too, right? So sometimes you'll get a really fun school with very involved coaches, and sometimes you don't. So if you want to bring your kids to jiu-jitsu, visit some schools in the area. Check out the class, see what the kids' class is like. Make sure that your son or daughter is going to have a good time there. Also, some schools are self-defense based, some schools are competition based, and I think either one will work for what you're trying to accomplish as far as I want my child to be safe. So I recommend more the self-defense personally, just because I like that better for my kids and myself. But the competition, if they go to a competition school, trust me, they'll be okay in school. It's still far and away better than any other martial art, in my opinion, for self-defense, especially in a school environment. And I say that because with karate, taekwondo, what I grew up with when I was, 7 to 11 years old, it was 0 to 100, right? So if you're being bullied, your recourse is punch them or kick them in the face. So that's going from 0 to escalating it to 100. With Jiu Jitsu, you can go 0, 10%, 20%, whatever you need. You can control the situation, control the other student, and not have to punch them or kick them in the face, getting in far less trouble. So that's why I recommend Jiu Jitsu for kids. It's just a far better system for schoolyard bullying when it gets aggressive and physical like that. Speaking of competitions, if your kid wants to do it, I think I would encourage it and let them do it. If not, I don't think I would force that on my child. Now, I'd be more likely to force, hey, jiu-jitsu is a part of our life just like brushing your teeth, but competition, if you want to do it, I will support you and give you everything you need, but that's all I would do as far as that. Just give them support. Before my kid's first competition, my biggest fear was they'd get discouraged and then want to quit. Luckily, even though it didn't go well the first year for both my daughters, and the second year it went better for my youngest daughter, and it still didn't go very well for my oldest daughter. But she still has a very good attitude about it. They both do, and they didn't want to quit. They wanted to do it again. So I think my fears were unfounded as far as thinking they'd want to quit, and I'm glad for that. But again, every kid is different, so you don't know how they're going to act precisely. But like I said, I wouldn't force it on them, but I wouldn't discourage it either. Again, back to the school, really try to pick a good one. I've heard of people that their kids never got promoted, other kids did because they were bigger, stronger, more athletic, and it really discouraged their kids and they wanted to quit. They didn't like it anymore. So you want a school that understands each child's individual needs and make sure that each child is having a good time. But you want to be fair to the sport and to the belt too. You don't want to just promote anybody based on making sure they keep on coming back, but you don't want to discourage them either. So that's kind of a fine line that every coach has to deal with, and every coach deals with it differently. And I can't really say what's right or wrong because I'm really not in that position to do so. But talk to your kids about that and make sure they understand that, hey, belts aren't everything. It's about learning the life skills. And that's a tough conversation to have with children because they don't understand it. But that's something you have to do. I think you have to continue to have those conversations to make sure that they understand that we're still having fun, we're still learning stuff, this is still part of our life. And yeah, keep them going as long as possible. And I want to know what you think. Do you think you should force your kids to do jiu-jitsu just like you force them to brush your teeth, or do you think that maybe that's not a good idea? I'm not going to force my kids to do jiu-jitsu just like I'm not going to force my kid to play basketball. And how do you encourage your children, and what's worked for you, what hasn't worked for you? Leave a comment below. Let us know, because we're all learning this together as a community. Everybody does things different. I really like getting new ideas. I use them all the time. So I appreciate it every time I get a comment and learn something, and we can start a discussion and a dialogue. I appreciate it, and I'm sure everybody else would too. If you found this helpful and you'd like to see more videos, please like, share, comment, subscribe. That'd be fantastic, and I'd appreciate it. Thanks.